And then I just talked about the method of how we do it. And the one thing I did wonder about, and there's just a little debate about this, you did have your task groups, and you split up the issues that I've referred to here. I'll probably go into a bit more detail with them, and whether or not we should have some sort of reference group which dealt with some of those issues, which I and people who might be helping me, we can discuss with members as we go along, and we get a little bit more of a moderation of where we are. And then, you know, some sort of interim report to this committee about where we're going to, and I'm sure when we set off, maybe the direction will change slightly from where I've set out in the paper. So that's what I hope to do, giving ourselves 6 months to do it. As I say, not because I think it will be finished, but I'm a great believer in that if I've got to get other people lined up as to when we're going to do this, I've got to be able to say to them, this is our plan, and this is what you've got to do in May, this is what you've got to do in June. Because I think that at the moment that's one of the reasons why it's not got going, is because there's not been that sort of rigour about the project plan about how it's going to work.
I think we've got 3 people to speak now. Councillor Smith, Councillor Hall and Councillor Hoff. You go first.
Thank you. It's been 12 months since Council were promised a review of the role of the Council and the role of parish councils. And in fact, as you raised the issue, it came about by the idiotic suggestion that those who were in parish should pay extra for the privilege. And that ludicrous situation raised fundamental questions. Can we not agree what the core activities of the council will be, and all other things will be paid for at the point of receiving them, i.e. the parish council? So it's 12 months, and now I have a piece of paper which says, in the next 6 months, this report here after 12 months tells me that there's going to be another report in 6 months, but this time you're really going to answer the question. Now, if I could just say that when I read this paper makes the assumption that our community is wholly parished, when you know, and everybody else knows, that it isn't. And Councillor Hogg and I represent Burton, magnificent community grouping, totally ignored by this council. We represent Williston, wonderful, active community, totally ignored by this council. And moving on to Hooton, again the same comment. Nothing here talks about consultation with community groups, just the parish things. So we'll pause there. The other thing is that, what was it? I don't know, but that's the I can think here.
Do you want me to answer the...
Yeah, that's good, yeah, fine.
Where you're just thinking about it?
Yeah.
I mean, I do accept your point about the Ellesmere Port area and not being parished. And as part of the council taking on its area working and how that's going to work in the future, I think that has got to be addressed as part of that. And that is a separate piece of work to this. It does have close links to it, but that is a separate piece of work that will have to come about shortly. The other thing was that you said the report about the double taxation, and that came up, I think, in November time, didn't it? Again, that piece of work is ongoing as well, so that won't wait for me and whoever completing this work in 6 months' time. That should be coming up shortly, because that was what was agreed at the executive, I think, in November, that we would come up with a report about how we would deal with that. And tied up with that is this thing about devolving services and about what the core services are which the council will provide. And that work is being done at the moment. But I think what I've tried to do here is sort of catch up with some of those things. And I think that it would be wrong to say, right, well, we're just going along doing this piece of work and ignoring these other things coming along. They're going to come in and come into the side of what we're doing here, but they are ongoing at the moment.
I'm thinking if you could, but I actually, the most important thing that I couldn't get into my mind, reading the report, or your summary here, it does seem to me that whole project contains an awful lot of baggage. Baggage in terms of you want to get interested in secretarial services, you want to get interested in legal services, or whatever services. It seems to me that if you sort of lean back on your chair and think what that would mean in practice, is that the individuality of the parish councils would tend to be lost, and you having this mega monolithic service centre, which is contrary to all the ethos that the council is saying of put things out, let users do it. You know, we only have to be facilitators. We don't have to be providers. But what I got the message, and I may be wrong, but the message I received from yourself this evening is that wouldn't it be good if we could do this for you? And I don't see that as a very good thing to be involved in.
Just to interrupt there, Graham. From my standpoint, I am totally against what you just said there. I see the bureaucracy that parish and town councils find themselves mired in. And if we could help them by giving them a blueprint to actually get away from a lot of the unnecessary bureaucracy and move on to being completely separate, independent, local, focused on what they want to do and not mired in basically bureaucratic nonsense, I think we actually free them up. But anyway, that's my view. Go on, Ken. You
I support that.
Well, I mean, they're going to say to us what they're going to say to us when we have to start having the, I've just written this without going to 97 people and saying, what do you think about it? So they're going to say that to us, and we'll see, as I said, we'll see where it takes us. And I suppose it's a balance between what you're saying, which is about independence, but on the other hand, it is about trying to improve standards of governance and the ethical framework, and not ignoring the fact that, you know, there may be huge efficiencies which they can make, which then either they levy a lower precept or they can use in another way. And the other thing is, I'm not saying in all cases that the council is this great big benevolent paternal body that can provide things for you. It may be that you decide, well, why don't, you know, X, Y, Z, A, B and C get together for your legal advice, but go to X and Y solicitor over there. I'm not saying that the council should do that. But what I'm trying to say is that we're trying to bring that thinking together and say, well, have you thought about doing this? We could do that. We could help you do this. And we're not looking for business, but there are some things probably that we could do which would appeal